The conference room felt like a tomb. Rachel from HR sat across from me, her voice flat as she read from a printed document. Multiple witnesses have reported inappropriate behavior, including unwanted advances and threats regarding career advancement. My throat went dry. I looked at Tara Bloom sitting 2 chairs down, her eyes red and glistening with tears. But I caught it, just for a second, the tiniest curl at the corner of her mouth. That smirk told me everything. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a mistake. This was planned, calculated, and I was already buried. My hands started shaking under the table. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but Rachel held up one hand. "Mr. Mercer, you're suspended effective immediately pending a full investigation." The room tilted. 4 years of hard work, late nights, and loyalty evaporated in 10 minutes. As they escorted me out, Tara didn't even look at me. She just wiped another fake tear and whispered something to Rachel. I felt my career, my reputation, my entire future crumbling like sand through my fingers. The Seattle rain hit my face as I stood outside Valentech Systems, my employee badge already deactivated in my wallet. People walked past me on the sidewalk, umbrellas blocking their faces, completely unaware that my world had just imploded. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Kyle, who still worked inside. "Dude, what happened?" "Everyone's talking." I couldn't type a response. My fingers wouldn't work. Behind me, the building's glass doors reflected my face, pale, shocked, lost. This morning I'd walked through those doors as Evan Mercer, respected project coordinator, the guy everyone came to for help. Now I was nobody. Worse than nobody. I was the guy who got suspended for harassment. The accusation alone was enough to poison everything. It didn't matter if it was true. The stain was already permanent. I walked to my car in the parking garage, got inside, and just sat there for an hour, staring at nothing, trying to understand how helping someone had turned me into a monster. My name is Mercer Evan, and until yesterday, I was 33 years old and actually proud of my career. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. I'd spent 4 years climbing from entry-level support staff to project coordinator at Valentech Systems, a mid-sized tech firm in Seattle. I trained new hires, stayed late when projects needed saving, and genuinely believed that hard work and loyalty mattered. I trained at least 20 people on my floor, including Tara Bloom. She joined us 6 months ago from overseas, nervous and eager to prove herself. I spent weeks showing her everything, our systems, our clients, our team culture. We worked late together, ordered pizza, laughed about office politics. She called me her mentor. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was building a solid team. I didn't know I was training the person who would destroy me. The promotion to senior coordinator had been dangled in front of me for months. My manager, Chris, kept hinting it was mine, and Tara knew that. She knew everything because I'd told her everything. That was my first mistake. 6 months earlier, everything had seemed normal. Tara walked into the office on her first day, carrying a leather notebook and wearing a nervous smile. Chris introduced her during the morning stand-up. "This is Tara Bloom, joining us from Toronto. She'll be working on client onboarding. Evan, can you show her the ropes?" I nodded and walked over to her desk after the meeting. "Welcome to the chaos," I said, extending my hand. She shook it firmly. "Thanks. I'm honestly terrified. Everything here moves so fast." I laughed. "You'll catch up quick. I'll help you." And I did. Over the next 2 weeks, I walked her through every system, every process, every shortcut I'd learned over 4 years. She took notes constantly, asked smart questions, and stayed late without complaining. One night around 8, we were both still at our desks finishing a client migration. She looked over at me. "Why are you helping me so much? Most people just want newbies to figure it out themselves." I shrugged. "Because someone helped me when I started. That's how good teams work." Things started shifting in ways I didn't notice at first. Small things. A project file I'd saved to the shared drive disappeared, forcing me to recreate hours of work. My name got left off email chains I should have been included in. During team meetings, Chris started directing questions to Tara that he used to ask me. I figured she was just finding her footing, becoming more confident. That's what I wanted, right? Then one afternoon, I walked past the break room and heard Tara's voice through the half-open door. Honestly, Evan's been slowing the team down. He micromanages everything. My stomach dropped. I stood frozen in the hallway. Another voice, Dean from Analytics, responded. Really? I always thought he was solid. Tara sighed loudly. He means well, but his methods are outdated. We need fresh thinking. I walked away before hearing more. Maybe I was being sensitive. Maybe she had a point. Maybe I was holding people back without realizing it. That doubt was exactly what she wanted to plant. Tara started playing a subtle game I didn't recognize until it was too late. During video calls, she'd sigh heavily whenever I spoke, like I was wasting everyone's time. If I gave her feedback on a project, she'd nod politely, but then tell others I was being condescending. She started CCNG Chris on every email, documenting our interactions in ways that made me look controlling. Just following up on Evan's concerns about my approach, she'd write, making me sound paranoid. In meetings, she'd phrase things carefully. I understand Evan prefers the old method, but I think we should consider updating our process. The old method. Like I was some dinosaur clinging to the past. Other team members started looking at me differently. Not with disrespect exactly, but with the kind of patience you'd show someone who didn't quite get it anymore. Then one morning, I got a calendar invite from HR, quick check-in meeting with Rachel. Nothing formal. My first thought was that it was about my upcoming promotion. It wasn't. The HR meeting started casually enough. Rachel smiled and asked how things were going with the team. I said everything was fine. Then her tone shifted. We've received some feedback about team dynamics, specifically about your management style with newer employees. My chest tightened. What kind of feedback? She glanced at her notes. Some concerns that you can be intense, controlling, that you made comments that made people uncomfortable. I blinked. Who said that? Rachel shook her head. I can't share specifics, but we take all workplace concerns seriously. I just want you to be aware and maybe reflect on how you interact with others. The meeting ended 5 minutes later, but I sat in that conference room for another 10, staring at the wall. Tara had already been to HR. She'd built a narrative, planted seeds, and positioned me as the problem. And I hadn't even seen it coming. When I walked back to my desk, Tara was at hers, typing away, completely calm. She glanced up and smiled. Everything okay? I nodded, not trusting my voice. 2 weeks later, Rachel called me into the conference room again. This time, Tara was already there with another HR representative I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped before Rachel even spoke. Evan, we've received serious allegations regarding your conduct. Specifically, Tara has reported incidents of harassment and intimidation. The word harassment hit me like a physical blow. I looked at Tara. Her eyes were red, tears streaming down her cheeks. She looked genuinely terrified. But I knew her now. I'd seen that micro-expression in the first meeting, the satisfaction hiding behind the fear. That's not true, I said, my voice shaking. I've never harassed anyone. Rachel slid a folder across the table. We have witness statements and documented incidents. Text messages where you allegedly pressured Tara about her performance. Comments about her appearance. Implications that her job security depended on your approval. I felt like I was drowning. Those texts were about project deadlines. I never said anything inappropriate, but Rachel's face told me the decision was already made. Effective immediately, you're suspended pending investigation. Please don't contact Tara or discuss this matter with other employees. They walked me out like a criminal. Security waited by my desk while I gathered my personal items into a cardboard box. People stared from their cubicles, then quickly looked away when I made eye contact. Kyle mouthed, "What the hell?" from across the room, but I just shook my head. I couldn't explain what I didn't understand. Outside, the rain had started again. I sat in my car with that pathetic box on the passenger seat, a coffee mug, a photo of my parents, a little cactus plant, and realized this was all I had to show for 4 years. My phone buzzed constantly. Text from coworkers asking what happened. I didn't respond. What could I say? By evening, I've been completely ghosted. Group chats went silent when I posted. Kyle stopped answering my calls. 2 people I considered actual friends suddenly had excuses for why they couldn't grab a beer. I checked Tara's LinkedIn that night, knowing I shouldn't. Her new post had thousands of likes. Sometimes standing up for yourself costs everything. But your peace matters most. Hashtag courage, hashtag speak your truth. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Sleep became impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Tara's face in that conference room. Those fake tears, that hidden smirk. I replayed every interaction we'd ever had, searching for the moment I'd somehow threatened or harassed her. There was nothing. We'd ordered pizza and talked about project timelines. We'd debated the best way to structure client files. We'd laughed about Chris's terrible jokes in meetings. Normal coworker stuff. Nothing remotely inappropriate. But none of that mattered now. The accusation was enough. My father called 3 days into my suspension. "Son, you sound terrible." "What's going on?" I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, then said quietly, "You need to fight back. You can't just accept this." But how? I had no proof of my innocence. How do you prove something didn't happen? HR had already decided who to believe. The crying woman with witnesses was more credible than the accused man with nothing but his word. I was finished, and everyone knew it. A week into the suspension, I was mindlessly scrolling through old work files on my laptop, not really looking for anything, just unable to sit still. I clicked into a shared folder Tara and I had used for team documents. Most of it was spreadsheets and project plans. Then I saw a file I didn't recognize, a Zoom recording auto-saved 3 months ago. I almost deleted it, but something made me click play. The video loaded. It was from a late-night work session. Tara and Dean from Analytics were on screen, and I could hear myself in the background, though I wasn't visible. I was probably getting coffee. Then Tara's voice, clear and casual. "Honestly, Evan's perfect for this. Everyone loves him. He's helpful, never makes waves. But once he's out, that senior coordinator spot is mine." Dean laughed. "You sure you can pull that off?" Tara's smile was cold. "Watch me. I've already started building the case. All I need is the right moment." My hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped the laptop. I hit replay 3 times, making sure I'd heard correctly. Tara's voice, casual and confident. "Make it emotional. They always believe the emotional one." Dean responded, "What if he has proof it's not true?" She laughed. "He won't. I've been documenting everything, taking things out of context. HR eats this stuff up. By the time he realizes what's happening, it'll be too late." They talked for another 5 minutes, strategizing about how to make me look controlling, how to position her as the victim, how to time everything perfectly with a promotion cycle. She'd planned every detail. The sighs during meetings, the carefully worded emails, the fake discomfort whenever I gave her feedback. It was all performance. My chest felt tight with rage, but my hands were steady for the first time in days. I had it. The truth. Recorded in her own words. I immediately made 3 copies, one a USB drive, one uploaded to a personal cloud account, and one emailed to myself. Then I sat back and started planning. I wasn't going to blast this on social media. I wasn't going to lose control. I was going to dismantle her carefully and completely. For 3 days, I didn't contact HR. Instead, I went through every email, every text message, every shared document from the past 6 months. I organized everything chronologically. I found the messages she'd claimed were inappropriate. They were literally about project deadlines. "Can you have the client files ready by Thursday?" Became evidence of me pressuring her. I found emails where she'd left me off important chains, then later claimed I wasn't communicating effectively. I documented every time she volunteered to stay late with me, every friendly conversation we'd had in front of witnesses. If she was building a case, so was I. But mine was built on facts, not fiction. I practiced staying calm. I knew the moment I showed anger or desperation, I'd lose credibility. Victims aren't supposed to be angry. They're supposed to be hurt and confused. So I rehearsed my responses until my voice stayed steady, until my hands stopped shaking, until I could talk about her betrayal without my emotions bleeding through. I was ready. On day 10 of my suspension, I sent Rachel a carefully worded email. "I've discovered evidence relevant to the ongoing investigation. I'd like to schedule a meeting to present this information." Her response came 2 hours later. "We can meet tomorrow at 2. Please come prepared with any documentation you feel is relevant." I showed up 15 minutes early with my laptop USB drive and a folder of printed emails. Rachel was already in the conference room with another HR representative named Tom. Tara arrived 5 minutes later, looking confident. She'd clearly been told this was just a formality, that the investigation was wrapping up in her favor. She sat down across from me, without even glancing my way. Rachel opened her notebook. "Evan, you indicated you have additional evidence to present." I nodded and pulled out my laptop. "I do. But first, I'd like to ask Tara a few questions." Rachel frowned. "This isn't a cross-examination. I understand. But context matters." I looked directly at Tara. "Did we ever have a conversation about my upcoming promotion?" She blinked. I don't recall." I opened my laptop and turned it so everyone could see the screen. This is a Zoom recording from October 15th. It was auto-saved to our shared project folder. I pressed play. The audio filled the room. Tara's voice, crystal clear. "Evan's perfect for this. Everyone loves him. But once he's out, that senior coordinator spot is mine." The color drained from Tara's face. Dean's voice continued. "You sure you can pull that off?" Tara on the recording laughed. "I've already started building the case. All I need is the right moment. Make it emotional. They always believe the emotional one." The room went completely silent except for the recording. I let it play for another 30 seconds, long enough for them to hear her describe exactly how she'd manipulated emails, timed her complaints, and positioned me as a threat. When I paused it, Rachel and Tom were staring at Tara like they'd never seen her before. Tara's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. Finally, she whispered, That's taken out of context." I pressed play again, letting her own words condemn her. There was no context that could save her now. Rachel's voice was ice. "Tara, I need you to step outside." Tara stood on shaking legs, tears, real ones this time, streaming down her face. "You don't understand. He was making my life impossible. I just wanted outside. Now." Tom followed her out, and I heard Ray's voices through the door. Rachel turned to me, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Mercer, I need to review this recording thoroughly and consult with our legal team. We'll be in touch within 24 hours. I nodded and stood to leave. As I walked past the conference room window, I saw Tara sitting in another office, her face buried in her hands, shoulders shaking. For a split second, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Then I remembered her smirk during my suspension hearing, the fake tears, the calculated destruction of my reputation. She'd tried to bury me alive. I just handed her the shovel. That night, I slept through for the first time in 2 weeks. No nightmares, no replaying the accusations. Just deep, dreamless sleep of someone who'd finally stopped drowning. By the next morning, the office grapevine was on fire. Kyle texted me, "Dude, Tara didn't show up today." Dean got pulled into a meeting with HR and left looking sick. "What did you do?" I didn't respond, but I knew what was happening. HR was fact-checking every detail of her story. They were interviewing Dean, pulling email records, comparing her documented incidents against the timeline in that recording. Her entire case was collapsing like a house of cards. 3 days later, Rachel called me. "Mr. Mercer, we've completed our investigation. We found no evidence supporting the allegations against you. Your suspension is lifted effective immediately, and your record will be cleared of all mentions of this incident." I waited for an apology. It didn't come. Just corporate language designed to avoid liability. "What about Tara?" I asked. Rachel's voice was carefully neutral. "Ms. Bloom's employment status is a separate personnel matter I can't discuss." But I didn't need her to explain. Tara's desk was empty when I returned to the office. Her nameplate was gone. Her files had been boxed up and removed. The whispers followed me everywhere that first week back. People didn't know what to say, so they said nothing. Kyle finally cornered me in the break room. So it was all fake. She made everything up. I nodded, pouring coffee with steady hands. Every word. He looked sick. I believed her, man. We all did. She seemed so scared. "That was the point," I said quietly. "She's good at performing." Kyle shook his head. "Where is she now?" "Gone." That was all I knew at first. But later that week, I overheard Chris talking to another manager. Tara's work visa had been sponsored by Valentech. When they terminated her employment for cause, they didn't renew the sponsorship. She had 30 days to leave the country. The weight of that hit me harder than I expected. She hadn't just lost her job. She lost everything she'd come here to build. Part of me wanted to feel guilty. But I remember her voice on that recording, cold and calculating, laughing about destroying me. She'd done this to herself. I just made sure the truth came out. The real fallout came from an unexpected direction. Tara's fiancé, Mark, worked in our finance department. I met him a few times at company events. Quiet guy, seemed nice enough. He'd been one of her biggest defenders during my suspension, posting on social media about believing women and toxic workplace culture. 2 weeks after Tara's termination, Mark appeared at my desk. Other people noticed and got quiet. He stood there for a long moment, just looking at me. Then he said quietly, "Is it true?" "The recording." I nodded. "HR has the full file if you want to hear it yourself." His face crumpled. I defended her. I went to war for her online. "I called you." He stopped, unable to finish. "I know," I said. "I saw the posts." Mark sat down in the empty chair beside my desk. "We were supposed to get married next month." I thought she was the victim here. He looked at me with hollow eyes. "Can I hear it?" "The recording." I pulled up the file and handed him my headphones. He listened for 3 minutes, then pulled them off and walked away without another word. Mark stopped coming to work after that. I heard through the grapevine that he'd taken family leave, then quietly transferred to the Portland office. He never said another word to me, but his social media told the story. All his posts defending Tara vanished overnight. So did every photo of them together. One day his relationship status just changed to single. No explanation, no drama. Just silence. HR finally sent out an official memo. Following a thorough investigation, all allegations against Evan Mercer have been determined to be unfounded. We apologize for any disruption this matter caused. Unfounded. Not false, not fabricated. Unfounded. Like I'd been accused of something that simply couldn't be proven either way. It wasn't the vindication I wanted, but it was what I got. My name was quietly restored to project emails. Chris started including me in meetings again. People made awkward eye contact in hallways and mumbled, "Good to have you back." Nobody actually apologized. Nobody acknowledged they believed lies about me without question. They just moved on like nothing had happened. A month after my reinstatement, Chris called me into his office. I'll admit my stomach dropped. Too much PTSD from the last time I got called into a private meeting. But Chris smiled and gestured to a chair. "Evan, I want to apologize. I should have questioned things more carefully. I should have trusted my instincts about you." It was the first real apology I'd received. I nodded, not sure what to say. He continued, "We're restructuring the team to handle the new expansion into the Midwest market. We need someone who can build and lead a new client integration department. Someone who understands our systems inside and out, who can train people properly, and who has integrity under pressure." He slid a folder across the desk. "The role comes with a 20% raise and reports directly to senior management. It's yours if you want it." I opened the folder and saw the title, Senior Project Coordinator, Regional Expansion. The same role Tara had tried to steal. I looked up at Chris. "I'll take it. Not because I wanted revenge. Not because I wanted to take something from her. But because I'd earned it. And I wasn't going to let her betrayal define my career." My first day in the new role felt surreal. They'd moved me to a different floor, bigger office, actual window with a view of Puget Sound. My name was already on the door plaque. I sat in the new chair and turned on my computer. An automatic email notification popped up, one of those auto-replies from an old email thread with Tara. "Tara Bloom is no longer employed at Valentech Systems. For assistance with ongoing projects, please contact Chris Hammond." I stared at that message for a long time. Somewhere, she was probably back in Toronto, trying to rebuild a career she destroyed with her own ambition. Her visa revoked, her engagement ended, her reputation in tech circles permanently damaged. The recording had been shared with our industry network as part of HR's due diligence. She wouldn't easily find another job in this field. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. And maybe a little sad. Not for her, she made her choices. but sad that someone with real talent had wasted it on sabotage instead of earning success honestly. On my first week as team lead, I walked past the main entrance where security had escorted me out 6 weeks earlier. Same glass doors, same rain streaking the windows, same Seattle gray sky. But I was different. I wasn't the naive guy who believed helping people automatically meant they'd treat you with respect. I wasn't the pushover who missed red flags because he wanted to see the best in everyone. I was someone who'd been burned alive and walked back through the fire with evidence instead of anger. That afternoon, I led my first team meeting as senior coordinator. 12 people sitting around a conference table, waiting for me to set the tone. I thought about giving some speech about loyalty or integrity, but that felt performative, like something Tara would do. Instead, I just said, let's talk about the Midwest expansion timeline. We got 4 months to build a system that works. We spent 2 hours on strategy, deadlines, and resource allocation. Normal work. No drama. Exactly how it should be. People ask me if I feel like I got revenge. The honest answer is no. Revenge would have been posting that recording on social media. Revenge would have been destroying her before she could destroy me. What I did was just survive. I documented the truth and presented it to the right people through official channels. The consequences that followed weren't my revenge. They were her natural results. She built a house of lies, and it collapsed on her. I just made sure I wasn't buried under the rubble. The hardest part wasn't the suspension or the investigation. It was learning that people I trusted had believed the worst about me so easily. Kyle, Chris, even casual work friends, they'd all accepted Tara's story without question. That hurt worse than anything she'd said about me. But I also learned something about myself. I learned I could stay calm when everything was falling apart. I could plan instead of panic. I could fight back without becoming the villain she tried to paint me as. Those lessons were worth the pain. Now, 6 months later, I train new hires again. I'm careful, but not paranoid. I help people, but keep better boundaries. I document important conversations and maintain professional distance. Some people might call that cynical. I call it wisdom. Last week, a new analyst named Priya joined the team. Young, ambitious, nervous, reminded me of Tara on her first day. For a second, I hesitated. Then I walked over and said, "Welcome to the team. Let me show you how our systems work." Because what Tara did doesn't get to change who I am. I still believe in helping people. I still believe in building strong teams. I just don't believe everyone deserves blind trust anymore. During training sessions, I tell new people, integrity outlasts lies. Always. I never mention Tara by name. I don't need to. The lesson stands on its own. Some victories don't need to be shouted from rooftops. They just need to be lived, one honest day at a time. And every morning I walk through those glass doors, I know I earned my place here, not by destroying someone else, but by refusing to let someone destroy me.